People should not be afraid to ask for help when they are struggling mentally. I've noticed that a lot of times when a person is having mental issues that they will just blow it off and think that it is only a phase. But in reality, mental health is much more than that and affects more people than we know. Hi, my name is Laura Inwards and my speech is written on mental health and why it is so important to take care of. My speech is directed to the peers in my class, so more of a high school audience. Mental health needs to be taken seriously. The top reason that this is true is, if not taken seriously, it could result in depression and eventually suicide. If someone's mental health is bad, their physical health could start failing along with it, and having a mental illness could result in a decline in a student's grade, and this could impact their whole life. The opposing side of this issue isn't exactly saying that mental health isn't important, it's just that it doesn't get the attention that it should because people don't realize how terrible the feeling of having a mental illness can be. Depression is a very serious mental illness. Depression is a type of mental illness that a person will get if they feel unloved or unwanted. With depression, you feel lonely, like no one cares if you just disappeared and that nothing you do matters. Many people with depression have thoughts of suicide. According to Mental Health America, a mental health information website, 59.8% of youth with depression in America do not get help. That's over half of these kids struggling with thoughts of being useless and suicide without getting help or sympathy. Although depression can't always be prevented or just go away, if the person who is starting to have signs of depression can get help, it can greatly decrease chances of suicide. Being bullied physically or mentally as a child and teen greatly increase the chances of becoming depressed. Most of the time, depression comes from the way that you are treated by those around you. I've noticed that sometimes I'm feeling bad about myself or that there's something wrong with me. I'll try to notice and point out the things wrong in somebody else, without even thinking about how it will make them feel, as long as I'm not the only one who has that issue. Parents and teachers try their best to prevent bullying and will speak about its consequences, but there isn't anything they can do to change the way people act. That has to start with you. Mental health can affect a person's physical health. There are many ways that mental health can affect your physical health. Your mind is what controls your body, and if your mind isn't well, it can't take care of your body properly. Here I'm going to tell you a few of the ways that mental health can directly affect your physical health. If someone shows sign of having a mental illness and it is not taken care of, that person can resort to trying to cope by themselves. Most of the time, that is drinking or drugs. Another way that mental health can affect a person's physical health is the fight or flight response that we have towards stress. When our fight or flight response kicks in, we get a huge rush of adrenaline and our heart rate and blood pressure increases. Every time we think about this stressor, that response will most likely kick in unless we have ways to cope with that. Something that a counselor might be able to help you with. Students who struggle with mental health will also struggle in school. As a student, lack of sleep affects my grade, and sometimes when I'm mentally a little bit edgy, it is hard to focus on my schoolwork because there are so many other things that I have to think about. Now, this is just me, but there is also proof that this is an issue. An article written by the Suicide Prevention Resource Center says that mental health problems can affect a student's energy level, concentration, dependability, mental capacity, and optimism, which can greatly affect their academic ability. There are so many people who struggle with mental health who can't or won't get help because it isn't readily available to them or they are afraid that they will be made fun of. Teenagers are so mean to each other, putting others down makes them feel better about themselves or more powerful. A lot of times there are students who get bullied mercilessly and no one cares to stand up for them. There isn't really anything parents or teacher can do to control students. So as a teen ourselves, we need to think about how the things we say or do could make the other person feel. You never know what could be going through someone's head when you talk to them, so it is better to be nice. Even as a friend, making fun of each other can be funny, but it is important to notice how the person being made fun of reacts. Nobody wants people to think that there's something wrong with us, so we all do our best to look like everything is fine and to continue life as normal, even if we are hurting terribly inside. It is your own responsibility to find help if you are struggling with something mentally. But if you start to notice signs of mental illness in one of your friends or peers, you may want to ask them about it and let them know that it's okay to get help if they need it. For the sake of your physical health, grades, and emotional health, don't be afraid to ask for help. It could end up saving your life.